So what we have currently is a system where we can hit the save button and it will take all of these zeros and it will update the database with those zeros. Okay, we don't want that. What we want is it to take the 10 and save it into the database. Okay, so why is it sending zeros into the database? Well, if we look here, right, this was the form that we put in earlier with the hidden inputs, and our save button is here at the bottom. The reason why it's putting zeros in all of those columns in the database is because the values of all of these hidden inputs are set to 0. Okay, so if I go ahead and let me go ahead and save it right here, and then I come here and I refresh, you can see that now D1 all have zeros in all of the columns, right? But if I come back over here and I change this value from 0 to 99999 and I save that, and then I come here and I go ahead and refresh the page and I hit save, and then I come to my database and I refresh it, you could see I have 99999 in my database, right? So what's happening here is when you hit the save button, it runs cookiesave.php. Cookiesave.php takes all this data into the post array, and post cookies is equal to this 0 right here. Okay, we don't want it to be equal to 0. As the user is clicking on the cookie, we want this value right here to be the number of cookies that he has right here, right? So how do we do that? What you need to do is go into your JavaScript file, okay? And in the update method, it's been a while since we've taken a look at the JavaScript file, but the update method is running here in the start function. So it starts here with start. We have a set interval which runs update every 100 milliseconds. Update, what does update do? Updates the number of cookies as they're clicking on the screen, and then it does the show hide, which turns the buildings transparent and non-transparent. All right, so this guy's running on a loop basically as our game is running, and what we want to do is make a function called send state that also runs in this loop. Okay, so let's say function send state. You can call it whatever you want, but that's what makes the most sense to me, and we're going to paste this in here. Okay, so what is this here doing? This is getting document. It's talking about the document, and it's getting the element by ID and cookies. And what is end cookies? Well, if we look back, the ID that we have for our first hidden input is end cookies. So that's what this is, the element that line of code is going to get. Okay, and it's setting end cookies value to num cookies. And the way that this JavaScript program is working is as I'm clicking on the screen, this num cookies variable is going up. Right. So this num cookie variable is going up as I'm clicking on the screen, and then we have this cookie function which is putting the value of this num cookie variable into this element here. And that's what's making the screen go up, right? The 32, 33 up to 40. That's the reason why, right? Because what we're doing here in our cookies function is we're taking this num cookies and we're inserting it into this div class right here. Okay? So then what this send state function is going to be doing is it's going to be updating this value right here to be equal to the number of cookies that is constantly changing due to our JavaScript code running, right? So that's what this is doing here. It's updating this value here constantly, every 100 milliseconds as our cookies are going up. So when I hit submit, it's going to send the number of cookies that the user currently has to cookie_save.php, and then cookie_save.php is gonna run the query, update based on the number of cookies, right? which is coming from the post variable. And now cookies is equal to number of cookies. And then it inserts that new number into the database. Okay, so that's what's happening here. So if we come over here and I just go ahead and save, we can show that it works by, I guess we can refresh here. I'm going to do this, right? And as I'm doing this, every 100 milliseconds, this send state is running. And what this send state is doing is it is setting the value here to this number here, right? So when I hit the save button, it is going to go to cookie_save.php, sending all of this data, including this new value of 23 for end cookies, via the post variable. And then we come over here, and we're going to take that 23 via the post array, put it in the cookie variable. It's going to come on down here to update. It's going to update the cookie column in the database to 23. Okay, so let's see if that works. Save. Comes on back here. Look inside my database. This should read 23 if everything worked correctly. So let's come here and refresh. 23. Voila. Right? So that's what we want to do in order to get this working, right? So we're over here on the send state. You don't want to just update the end cookies value to num cookies. You want to update all of these hidden inputs to their constantly changing values, okay, using the same technique. All right, so when we're over here on the JavaScript code, what you want to do is do the same thing for the next one, right? And then same thing for the next one, same thing for the next one, because all of these different inputs have a corresponding variable in the JavaScript code. So for this ID, NCPS, we're going to change its value to CPS, right? And all of these variables are the ones that you're going to be using to change. So we're using these two, and we're using these two here, right, to change all of the to update the value of these different elements in the form. So I'll let you go ahead and do that, and you can finish that up. What you're going to be doing is finishing up send state. You're going to be finishing up this function, and when you're done, every 100 milliseconds, it's going to update the values of all of these different fields to the values of the variables here in the JavaScript code. Okay. And then of course you want to test it by maybe earning a lot of cookies, right? Buying a cursor, hitting save, and checking, does the cursor column for my row change from 0 to 1, right? And if it does, then it works and you're good to go.